This is a Step Beyond the Fire podcast. My name is Cully. I'm a land manager and a wildlife biologist here in my home state of Florida. I invite you to join me on a journey as I seek to document the little-known stories told by those who use fire for the benefit of the land, also known as prescribed fire. So come on, let's head into the field and meet the people where the flame ends and new life begins. Hello everyone. We are on episode 15 now of a Step Beyond the Fire podcast. What an experience has it been thus far. It's hard to believe that we've already gotten that many episodes. I spent a lot of time traveling around trying to illustrate for some of you guys what these important issues are that we face in the field as not only prescribed burn managers, but as conservationists, stewards of the land, biologists, land managers, ecologists, folks that are even in engineering. There's a lot of unique things that are happening in today's world and a lot of unique challenges, and it was really my goal in all of this is just to have some fun and get to meet people and bring you into their lives and their experiences. We had some great times going to meet my good friend Jeff McGrady, talking about what life was like being a wildlife manager in the earlier decades. Well, I guess that would have been in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s in his experiences. And then we went on to the Florida Trail, talked about that, and spent some time learning a little bit about some of the great works that those folks are doing to keep that Florida Trail managed well. And then we moved on. We moved on to doing some other fun projects. I talking about managing military lands, linking together our landscapes with wildlife crossings, and even about careers in prescribed fire or any type of, whether it be wildfire or prescribed fire, for that matter. We had some good times talking about those things. Really, when I started this podcast, I wanted to start telling lots of good prescribed burning stories. But I quickly realized that, all those stories and kind of oh shit moments that happen from time to time on the prescribed burns, those are good stories to tell, but I thought it would be first a good idea to really help illustrate for you some of the concepts that are related to prescribed burning and get a good understanding of what it means, what this kind of work actually means by bringing you out in the field. I even brought you guys into a live fire one day. I'm surprised that one actually worked out so well because it was kind of a lot, and I carried my phone around with me all day actually and just sort of recorded as things unfolded during the day. And thankfully, everything went well that day, and it was there were some good opportunities for that. So for that, I'm thankful, and I'm happy that I at least got to record that. So there's going to be some unique changes that are going to be coming up. I decided I want to take a little bit of a different direction with this show, and by that I mean, I think now, since this is episode 15, so I feel like we've set the stage pretty well about the unique and evolving field that we call prescribed burning. So I want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going to be upcoming in Season 2. Season 2, what I want to do is focus on more memories from the field. These can be memories that are people's experiences and things that may have gone wrong on prescribed fires, but also to take you a step beyond, like we always try to do with this show, take you a step beyond the face value of prescribed fire and wildfire and sort of get into those unique things that happen to the people that are involved with this. And some of these stories can be, even related, may not even be related to prescribed burning that much at all. But I'm a storyteller. I like to learn from stories. I feel like that's a really great way for each of us to take something home. We always remember, I don't know about you guys, but for me when I was in school, the things that I always really remembered the most were the stories. So the stories are the most fun and interesting ways of illustrating important concepts, I think, or so I believe. So that's good. I'm really happy that I've started on this journey. I think probably in the next season I'm going to change things up a little bit. It's going to be hard to keep doing this. Hard to keep doing this for free. Sometimes I drive up to an hour to go meet people in the field to really get to meet people face to face and have those genuine interactions. So I think probably what I'm going to do, I'm going to end up, I've got some t-shirts that we're going to be selling that will, that are going to be some high quality, something fun to add to your to your wardrobe if you so desire. I'm also going to be going to some festivals and some Prescribed Fire Council meetings, one of which is coming up in November 3rd. That's going to be Friday, November 3rd down at the Central Florida Prescribed Fire annual meeting. And let's see, that is going to be, it's co-hosted by the Southern Fire Exchange, which is a great organization that's committed to disseminating important prescribed fire research and technical publications and anything prescribed burning, and also some wildfire information in there too. But they're the go-to when it comes to hard, cold, well, hot, in this case, science. Latest and greatest information comes from Southern Fire Exchange a lot of times. So they're going to be co-hosting this event. I want to go there. It looks like it's at Osceola Heritage Park down in Kissimmee, Florida. So these meetings are a good chance for folks that are doing this kind of work to get together and talk about prescribed burning. And I am being sponsored, which is amazing, by A&M Fire and Land Management. Now they're located up in North Central Florida, kind of in the St. Augustine, Florida area, but they do a lot of prescribed fire consulting. They do land management planning and mitigation work, and a little bit of everything, anything prescribed fire related. They're involved in, and so they're going to be sponsoring me to go to this event and talk a little bit more about what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because I know I have some folks here that are listening as prescribed burners who are in this world and who want to get out there the positive messages that we try to convey in this show. There's also folks that don't know a lot about this, and I feel there's I have this strong desire to try to get these stories and get this information out there as a way to educate and engage people of all backgrounds about this unique and evolving world of fire that we all get together and talk about in our small tight-knit group. So it's sort of a look into the little-known world of experiences of people who do this for the greater good. So that's going to be happening. The annual meeting of the Central Florida Council is coming up. I'll be there at that. I'm looking at going to some other. I just caught wind of a Fire Fest down at Jonathan Dickinson State Park in October, so I'm going to try to be down there for that. So if you're at that Fire Fest, come on by, come see me. I'm going to be hanging out down there, meeting with folks, and yeah, that's what this all is really all about: is to start conversations, start talking about these things, and also if you're a prescribed burner, you've been doing this for a little while, and you've got some unique stories or some life experiences you want to share, reach out to me. My email is astepbeyondthefire@gmail.com. You can always do that, or you can hit me up on Instagram at astepbeyondthefire. You can find me on that. And I try to post some, I try to post some content on there about once or twice a week if I can. But as with most of us, we've all got pretty busy schedules. And I do also, along those lines, I have some very exciting news. My wife and I are expecting a baby. And it's going to be a boy. And that's going to be right around Christmas time. So I'm really excited about that. Life is going to change a lot. I'm going to do my best to try to keep this show going. From time to time, we may get together with 2 or 3 folks to have some discussions, or I might even delegate this out to 1 or 2 friends and let them run the show for an episode or 2. So we'll see how this thing shakes out. But my goal right now is to keep this going, to keep this positive momentum, and also providing a platform for people to share their good works that they're doing and to get some positivity out in the world amongst all of this. So that's my little spiel today about some upcoming things, some of the new directions that we're going to be headed. And along those lines, so since season 2 is going to be about memories from the field, about memorable life experiences and getting more into the storytelling and those experiences that people have that I think are really worth documenting. I wanted to take the opportunity to honor someone in my life, because really with her, all of this began. And that's my mother. My mother's name is Kathy Lord. And she passed away on December 31st, 2015. It was actually a very unexpected event. It was an auto accident that took place about 2 weeks before New Year's Eve on 2015. And it was, it was one of the most difficult life experiences I've ever gone through. Just so much pain and sorrow. And what a difficult experience it was. But she taught me an incredible amount in my short 28 years with her in my life. And she really was the one who influenced me to get into the conservation work. I posted a picture of her and the house that she lived in, the house that we grew up in. I talked about it on episode 1, I believe, but it was a 1890s old Florida cracker house that had 12 rooms. It was an old boarding house that was from a small community not that far away. That my mother and my father bought this house and moved it out into 20 acres in the central Florida pine flatwoods. So we grew up out there, and I had all these great life experiences out in the woods. And that's what really led me into conservation work, into growing up hunting and fishing and just seeing all the abundant wildlife that was out there. My mother was not what you would call a typical mother. I don't know if there is such a thing as a typical mother, but I guess what I'm getting at is she was no suburban housewife or no soccer mom, that's for sure. My mom taught me a lot of things. She taught me how to drive a tractor. She taught me how to change the oil in my pickup truck. She taught me how to ride a horse. She taught me how to tend to livestock and to, poultry and chickens and geese and turkeys, all other kinds of livestock. We had cows. She taught me how to milk a cow. I had my favorite pet cow growing up. Her name was Honey. She was my favorite. She was so tame. I used to go out and pet her and hang out with Honey, my cow, when I was growing up. And she just taught me, above many things, she taught me how to work hard and to take pride in what I do. Growing up in that ranching community in a little town called Limestone. It really wasn't a town. There was not even a stoplight. It was more of a community. But Limestone is still there. It's a very hidden away, off the beaten path, little small community in Central Florida. But she taught me how to work hard and take pride in my life and what I did. And through the years, as with any relationship with a parent, it became strained at times. And there was, I went off to college and tried to keep in touch as much as I could. And she and my father split up when I was about 3 years old. So she lived by herself ever since that time. So she, I really spent a lot of time later in life trying to help her and trying to have her be part of my life without it being, without it being like too stressful, because there were some strained times there and strained relationships later in life. But she was a giver. She gave and gave. She never had much in this life, and she lived a fairly, simple life, for lack of a better term, because she had all these animals she just loved so much. She had 5 to 6 dogs at any given point in time. She had all these horses and cows, and she kind of lived out in the backwoods on her own, and was always involved in all kinds of outdoor things on the property. I guess you can call it. She was definitely into ranching, taking care of livestock and those kinds of things. My sister, my mother had a very profound impact on both of our lives. And my sister's about 3 years older than me. And she decided actually to write a book about my mother. So I wanted to take this Memories from the Field, this first sneak peek into season 2, by reading for you the first chapter of my sister's book that she wrote about my mother. And it goes like this. The name of the book is Murphy Road by Fania Lord. Chapter 1, Kathy Jo, 1995. The heavy air settled just above the swamp, a stagnant 100-degree layer. Damp Spanish moss clung to thick brush and oaks, making the woods feel even more dense and ominous. Only tiny slivers of sunlight penetrated the thick leaf canopy and dark shadows. A cave of differing shades of green and gray engulfed the murky patch of river, playing cruel tricks on the eyes. The black, tannin-rich water could hide any number of dangerous animals, but it was one in particular Kathy Jo watched for. The water between 2 cypress trees shivered for just a moment, and Kathy Jo's eyes zeroed in, narrowed, and grew dark with concentration. With a sudden crash of water and snapping jaws, the belligerent beast lunged toward shore. The female gator churned her legs with astonishing speed, lightning fast with powerful sweeps of the tail. But she was no match for Kathy Jo. One solid belt between the eyes with a 3/4-inch PVC pipe from Kathy sent the frenzied gator back to the depths from which she had charged. For a few minutes, at least. A hush crept over the small clearing as Kathy scanned the water for any sign of movement. Her hunting partner, Fred, stood over the alligator's nest and methodically stacked the eggs in the cardboard box lined with marsh grass. Fred and Kathy Jo had been on many such jobs, collecting the eggs for a nearby gator farm and splitting the $50 for each nest. Alligators can go from 0 to 15 miles per hour almost instantly, so keeping them off land was a vital part of the job. They were lucky this day because they didn't have to wade through the swamp to get to the nest. The truck was parked less than 10 yards away. Kathy squinted at the water's surface. A gator that mad and threatened shouldn't take this long to emerge. Abruptly, the underbrush behind them came alive with crackling weeds. "She's got a back door, Fred. She's on land. Get the hell out of there." Fred snatched up the box of eggs just as the enraged gator burst through with merciless gnashing of teeth. No time to open doors. The two leaped into the truck bed, expertly saving the eggs from jostling. They watched silently as the gator tore furiously at the tires. Luckily, gators can't jump. Cassie wriggled through the open back window into the truck cab. Even the roar of the truck coming to life didn't dissuade the enraged animal from her ferocious attack. Fred reached through the window to gingerly place the box of eggs on the seat, then slid through himself while Kathy Jo shifted into gear. Driving off to the thumping squelch of a flat tire in the swamp mud, they headed straight back to the ranch office to collect their fee. "Ain't that money well earned?" Kathy whooped with one hand on the wheel, the other twirling a strand of her sun-bleached blonde hair. "No kiddin'," Fred agreed. "That was one pissed-off she-gator." Some mothers make brownies. Some mothers drive their kids to soccer practice. Some mothers go to the mall. My mother steals wild gator eggs for petty cash. And that is the end of chapter 1. I'm not going to read any more of that. This book was is a unpublished work, and my sister substituted her name in this book. It was actually Cassie Jo, is what my sister had in the book, but I think that I just wanted to use her real name in this one. So there was a lot of experiences growing up that I had that were a non-typical life. We had that old house, and there was it was just a unique place to be. A lot of the tongue and groove, heart of pine walls, and no central air conditioning. We would hang our clothes out on the line up on the second floor to dry our clothes. And life was a lot simpler back during those days, living in that old house. So anyway, you can check the picture of it out on Instagram that I just posted today, which is today's August 6th. So that's a little bit about me. Going through the pain and the sorrow of losing a loved one that you're so close with. I actually was there, when she passed, and there's something about holding your mother's hand as she passes away from this life it stays with you forever. It was a very extremely difficult experience that I went through, and I've learned a lot from it, and I've learned things have changed a lot since that time, but I felt it was really important to honor her in this and dedicate this episode to her, to let you all know her strength of character, her generosity, and her unwavering love of my sister and I through the good times and the bad. So that was her. That was my mother, Kathy Jo Lord. So I thought I would start with that, and also I'm going to tell you guys one more quick story, just for fun. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. So I've got a number of prescribed burning stories in my back pocket, like most people do that do this kind of work. And again, I'm no expert. I always like to point out that I'm just somebody who does, who does this for a living, and I learn every day, and I still am always going to be learning until I'm at my last day on the job. So speaking of learning experiences, this was definitely a good learning experience for me. So back in 2018, I started as a district manager for a district that was within the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission's Southwest region of Florida. So within that district was located a number of different properties, one of which was the Lake Wales Ridge Wildlife and Environmental Area. The Lake Wales Ridge has, those of you who aren't familiar with it geographically, it's an ancient series of dunes that are centrally located along what they call a ridge in central Florida that was, through the process of island biogeography, became a very globally uniquely evolved and endemic plants and wildlife species. So in this one particular area in Florida, there's there's a dense concentration of unique species that you just don't find anywhere else in the world. Because Florida at one period was nothing but a series of islands, and those islands were atop those deep sandy ridges that are found along US 27 going north and south in central Florida there. So it really runs from roughly around the city of Lakeland down all the way south of Lake Placid through Venus and a little bit further south of that. So coming in as a brand new district manager, I was just learning how to supervise people and learning how to manage a large budget and manage a lot of projects at once. And it was I was getting to know my team, earning respect through getting out there and putting in some hard work with people and getting to know people. And so I show up there one day on a planned burn that this field staff down there had planned. And I get there and get set up. I got assigned to one part of the fire line. So my job during the day was to work what would have been the southernmost fire line and contain, you light a strip of fire and you contain, and you just kind of make sure that doesn't get out, and then you sort of proceed along a given direction, and you're lighting a fire that's what's called flanking into the wind. So it's pushing into the wind as a big long string. We had a pretty good wind that day that was pushing fairly hard, so that you would light the vegetation, and it would instantly go about 8 to 10 feet in the air and go as a solid strip, and it would start pushing away from the line itself and flanking into the dense overgrown mesic flatwoods, which is a combination of dense thick palmettos and oaks and lots of wiregrass and very flashy fuels that burn really hot, especially when it's a little windy and there's good dispersion. So I'm out there. I'm basically with just me, a pickup truck with a big water tank in the back, and one drip torch, and I had one other individual with me. He was kind of helping me along. So it was our job to make sure that line didn't go anywhere, didn't jump out of the burn area, and get out. So on we went all day long. The fire, we were bringing it up. We were working parallel to the other team on the far side of the burn area. It had to have been about 35 acres or so. And I could see the other team way across the palmettos from where we were at. So we were more or less working even with each other. We were letting it flank into the middle. So I'm getting out. I light a solid strip about 20 yards, 30 yards. Get out, get in the truck, pull it forward, keep doing that. And then light another strip, stop, get out, pull the truck forward, and on during the whole day. So by the end of the afternoon, we're getting to the other end of the area where we're going to go to the westernmost line, and I'm tired. I'm sort of just pulling this line up all day, getting in and out, making sure things are staying where they're supposed to. In the end of the day, we're going to wrap the unit, which means you wrap it like a big giant present. You just take a big string of fire and you go and meet the other person coming from the other direction, and then the wind pushes it all together and it crashes together in this big, deep inferno. Really, it gets very hot when you pull a fire together like that. So I'm cruising along, step out of the truck on the last big long strip of fire for the day, and I go to get out and my elbow jams the door lock, the electric door lock. Get out, unbeknownst to me, the door locked. So I slam the door shut. I go and I get that drip torch and I pull up a big string of fire right up near where the tire is on the truck. I suddenly realize the door is locked. Panic starts to set in. So I'm thinking, man, okay, I need some help. So I call over the radio. I'm like, hey guys, so here comes the burn manager. And he says, oh, that's okay. Don't worry. We've got a spare. So he reaches into the bed of the truck, and in the spare key holder, there is no key. So then I'm really starting to get panic. I said, all right, I'm going to break this window. We had about maybe 2 minutes before, because the rest of the team had come up. They thought we were going to meet them. They had wrapped the whole entire burn area, and the fire was starting to crackle and build heat intensity, and it was going to come crashing our way due to miscommunication. And then basically just, it could have been done a little bit differently. It's probably my fault for not fully telling everybody to hold up for a minute. But there I was, listening to the sound of this big fire building, coming back this way towards where the truck was, me not being able to get out of the way. So I said, all right, you guys, I'm going to break the window. I'm going to get ready to break the window. And they said, all right, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And just as that fire started to build and get heat around the truck, on the backswing, I'm swinging that big heavy rake like a baseball bat. He said, all right, hold on just a second. I got an idea. Hand me that rake. So they grab the rake and they pry the door open just a hair. And one of the guys grabs a stick, sticks that stick down through the edge of the door and jams the unlock button. And I jump in the truck and drive it away just as that paint on the side of that truck is just starting to get hot enough to melt. And breathed a huge sigh of relief. That was a very humbling moment, because being the new boss, trying to build trust and rapport with folks, I felt pretty foolish. So, moral of the story is maintain situational awareness and make sure you got a spare key. Get a spare key in those vehicles and make sure it's always there when you need it. So that's my story. I think that's a good place for us to stop today, and I'm looking forward to season 2. I'm going to start getting, got some good people lined up, some more great veterans of prescribed fire, and again, reach out to me if you want to connect. I'd love to have you on the show. We can talk via email or via Instagram, whatever works for you. I'm open, and I'm here to spread positivity and tell a few stories along the way. So I want to thank you all again. This concludes season 1 of A Step Beyond the Fire podcast.